Hello, I'm Phil Doleman. Welcome to Complete Beginner's Ukulele Lesson 2. So hopefully you've done Lesson 1, you've practiced your nice loose wrist strumming motion, and we've got the chords of C and F nicely under our fingers. If you haven't quite got that yet, you can still press on a little bit, but keep practicing that because you're going to need those two chords before we add what we're going to do today, which is chord number 3. In this lesson, we're going to learn the chord of G7. What on earth do all these letters mean? Well, these chords are just named after letters of the musical alphabet, which just goes from A to G. And when we get to G, we go back round to A again, and we keep looping round. The 7 after the G in this one is just part of the name of the chord, and chords have different flavours, if you like. They have different characteristics. Some might make you feel happy or sad, or some might sound mysterious, or they might make you feel like you want to move somewhere else. And that's what a 7th chord does. It makes you feel like you're not at home, but you want to go home. And we'll explore that in a moment. Let's find a G7 to start with. Here's the good news. Our index finger goes exactly where it goes for an F chord. The second string, remember we count from the floor to the ceiling. First string is near the floor. Second string, our first finger in the first fret space, just behind the first fret wire. That's exactly where it was for our F chord. This time our second finger goes in the second fret, just like it did for an F, but instead of reaching all the way across to the 4th string, it only has to go to the 3rd string. But for a G7 we need one more finger. Our ring finger also goes in the 2nd fret on the 1st string nearest the floor. So now we have a chord that looks like this. Just strum it with your thumb and make sure yours sounds like mine. Now a 7th chord has a little element of tension in it that feels like it wants to go somewhere. It really likes to go back to C. In fact, those two chords, G7C, you'll often hear them on the end of pieces of music in all sorts of styles. It's a very satisfying change from G7 to C. If we combine those two chords with the F that we also learned last week, we have the 3 most important chords in a little chord family that we're going to call the key of C. Now don't worry about this at all. All that a key is a collection of notes and chords that like to go together. And the key of C is the one we're learning at the moment. And in that key, the chord of C, the chord of F and the chord of G7 all belong. They're all in the same family. And what that means in real terms is that you'll find you play those chords together a lot. And there are a lot of songs you can play with just those 3 chords. So let's try a little bit of changing chord practice. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with the easy change, which is F to G7. And it's easy because that finger never leaves the ukulele. We keep that one down on the 1st fret of the 2nd string and we just move our other fingers. So let's try it. Let's start on F, find your F, and we'll do a count of 4 on F, and then I want you to try and switch over to that G7, and then we'll do a count of 4 on G7, and we'll go back and forth a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. F, 2, 3, G7. Back to F. Here comes the G7. F again. And G7. Now let's try going from C to G7. So remember, we do our C with our ring finger, and to change to G7, rather than take that finger off, let's just slide it down to the 2nd fret, and then we can put our first 2 fingers down. It's a little bit less work that we have to do, and it helps us get the right fingers on the right strings. This one's a bit harder. We'll take it very slowly, but don't worry if you struggle with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. G7 coming up, slide down and make your G7. Back to C. G7. Back to C. And we'll finish there. Now those 2 exercises are great little things to practice, going between F and G7 and C and G7. And of course, last week we practiced going between C and F. So that's every possible change that we can do. As I mentioned last time, a really important thing is to not let this hand stop. So what we don't want to have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's better to go as slow as you need to go. 1, 2, and start thinking about the next chord well before you actually need to go to it. So when you're strumming, when you get to that 3rd strum, you think, oh, 1 more strum on this chord and it's time to get away from that one and get to the new one. And start giving yourself a little bit of time to do the change. Let's look at some patterns that we could play that are quite common in songs. When I show chords like this in these little boxes, each box is a count of 4. Now if you see 2 chords in the same box, that means we have to count 1, 2, then change chord, 3, 4. We squeeze 2 chords into 1 bar. Let's try this one. This is 4 bars long, so 4 counts of 4, and we have a C, an F, a C, and a G7. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. F. Back to C. And G7. And then we can go around that pattern over and over again. So we go back to C, then to F, back to C, and to G7. Now lots of songs use that pattern, but for example, if I sped it up a bit, hey, where did we go? Days when the rain came. Different rhythm, different speed, but the chord changes for Brown Eyed Girl are right there. Let's try another one. This one has 2 chords in 1 bar. So we'll take it nice and slow. We're just going to play a C, an F and a G7. But our C and our F are squeezed into 1 bar. So we only do 2 beats on each one of those. We'll stick with our standard downward strum, so it will be 2 strums on C, 2 strums on F, and 4 strums on G7. Like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, C, F, 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 G7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, C for 2 strums, F for 2 strums, and G7 for 4 strums. That, if we speed it up a little bit and change the rhythm, is la 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 bamba, la 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 bamba. It's also, well, shake it baby now, twist and shout, and lots of other songs. Let's try another one. This one is When the Saints Go Marching In. We're going to count this one a little faster because we've got a long time on each chord, so we've still got plenty of time to think about what's coming next. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Last bar of C. 2, 3, 4. G7. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. Another C. F. C to G7, just one bar there, and back to C. From the top, if we sing it, it goes like this. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching. Here's the G7, in. I want to be, see, in that F number. When the C saints go, G7, marching, C, in. Now singing and playing is a whole new ball game, so don't worry if you can't sing along with me. You can just use my voice as your reference point to where that goes. You'll find that as you strum these different combinations of C, F and G7, songs will pop into your head. It's a very familiar sound and lots of songs do it. The great news is we're at the end of lesson 2 and you have 3 chords. Those 3 chords are the key to literally thousands upon thousands of songs. So stick with it. Keep that solid timing going and get used to changing between the chords. Don't forget, whenever you strum those chords, to say the name out loud. That'll really help you remember the name and associate it with the shape and what it feels like when your hand plays that shape. In the next lesson, we're going to look at some more interesting rhythm patterns. So for now, just concentrate on keeping time and keeping that hand swinging, and we'll come up with some really nice rhythm patterns that we can apply to those chords in the next lesson. Keep practicing, and you know, it takes as long as it takes to learn these things. So if you're doing lesson 2 a day after lesson 1, great. If you're doing it a week, great. It takes as long as it takes, and the important thing is that while we're learning, we're enjoying making music. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.